Hi guys, today we're going to be having a look at redoing the UI design for Thumblytics. It's a company that allows you to do some really cool analysis with thumbnails on YouTube. They allow you to do some testing where you're able to submit different types of thumbnails and test them out with real audiences to see which type of thumbnail gets the best type of click-through and impressions. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the pages they have here and see what we can do from a UI point of view to make them a little bit better. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Adrian from Australia. I do videos around design and development, so if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe and we're just going to jump straight into it. So the very first thing that I've noticed here is that we've got some really strong colors, but we only have a single color. It's this really strong orange. And this orange color is fine, but it's being used a little bit too much. We've got different shades of it, but I can see potential for other colors like greens and reds to be added here. We're going to take a look at this as well as maybe having a look at fixing up the menu, and we'll start by creating a brand new frame in Figma. So what I thought I'd start off doing is creating a new header section. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be creating an overlay to go on top of the previous header section. And I'm going to give it a nice orange line at the top there, just so that it stands out a little bit more. With this done, I'm going to pull in another example of the logo, and I'm going to make it a little bit larger so that it stands out. The logo is really nice. It shows that it uses analytics to improve your thumbnail, so it's nice to be able to sit on that white background and stand out a little bit more. We'll add the Thumblytics title in there again, and we'll add some of the menu items here. I'm just going to put in the main ones here for pricing and features, and also one for the purchase. Now previously the purchase button was actually not highlighted, the register button was highlighted. I'm going to change this and make sure that the purchase item is the actual call to action that we have here. We're going to make it look very similar to the logo so it's consistent in that design. We're going to move all the menu items across just so they're neatly spaced. We'll also add a bit of border radius there so it's similar to that logo, and we'll also add in the login button, which people can select if they've already got an account. With that, our header looks much better, and we can have a look at doing a new section here for the hero banner. Now for this hero banner, I'm thinking something stronger. I'm thinking a strong primary color such as that orange. With that orange, we can overlay a number of items and they should stand out a lot more now rather than just blending into the background of the page. What we can do is maybe I was thinking we can have a nice thumbnail sized background, such as maybe a white box or something, so that we can show those thumbnails there. What I might do is I might resize this a little bit, and while I'm resizing it, I'm just trying to figure out what that aspect ratio is for thumbnails. What we want to do is we want to represent Thumblytics, and the core essence of the business is submitting one or more thumbnails for review to test them out against audiences to see which they click on. So I want to highlight that. Now, they've already got an example image for that, so we might give that a test instead of making our own. Theirs is actually a good representation of their product. It already shows you that they have different thumbnails they're testing, and you get a graphical representation of the statistics around those, so maybe we'll just focus on doing that. With that done, we can have a look at maybe adding in a nice section here for people to have a call to action when they see this banner. Usually I like to reiterate either a purchase button or a learn more button, so we'll do a learn more button in this case. And what we'll do is we'll add in the title. Their previous title was already pretty good. It was a title that says if you want more video views on YouTube, then Thumblytics can essentially help you out. So we're going to do a slightly shorter iteration of that title. We're just going to put in what do you want more views on YouTube. And the goal here is to show that this product here will be giving you more views. So we want it nice and simple in almost a single line. We'll add a small subtext to this, and previously this was if you test your thumbnails out with hundreds of people in minutes, then you can get better results for driving views. That's a little bit too long, so I'm going to reduce that down to test your thumbnails with real people, and this will make a lot more sense. We also can reduce some of the spacing and the room in this section because it's using up a little bit too much room and we want people to be able to flow onto the next section. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce the sizing on most of these elements. And I'm also going to update the colors here on the main graph because right now everything sort of blends together because of the fact that they're all that same primary orange color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some greens here, some reds and some yellows just to give a better graphical representation of the graph when the results are good and when the results are bad. That way they can stand out just a little bit more. With that done, it's a lot easier to tell now when the statistics are good or bad. And now the graph stands out a little bit more, so I'm pretty happy with this section so far. The only other thing I think would be of benefit is to add a small underline to the more views just so that that core statement stands out very well. It's the fundamental of what Thumblytics are doing and we want people to recognize that. With that done, we can move on to the next section, and this gray color for the background, this off teal, doesn't seem to be working very well, so I'm just going to give it an off orange color. It's similar to their primary color and it blends in a little bit better. And what I'm thinking is we should focus more around that arrow because we've got a very nice arrow logo there for the logo. And I'm thinking we could use this more for the website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own little arrow here. I'm going to flow it into the next section so that it sort of gives you a representation of more or less what's happening. So in this case, we want to show how Thumblytics works at an essence. And the way it works is by collecting 3 or more thumbnails. And with these thumbnails, you have maybe a good one, a bad one, and an average one. You don't really know until you test them out. So I was thinking that maybe we can use some different colors to represent this. And with that, we'll essentially put some placeholders so we know that this is thumbnail A, B, and C, and maybe we'll even add a picture on top. But it might be a little bit difficult for the user to tell, so what I might do is I might just keep these a little bit more simple and we won't do an overlaid image. We'll use those primary colors again just so that they seem consistent with the design above. We might darken out the left and right one so that we're focusing in on the middle one as the result that's working the best. We'll add some text in here below to show which thumbnails it is. So thumbnail A, B, and C can be clarified. And we want to really focus on that. We've got, not 1, 2, 3 thumbnails. We've got A, B, C because we really don't know which one is the number 1, number 2, and number 3 thumbnails until we do our testing. So I'm just going to put these in nice and big, and this I'll just align accurately so that we can see all of those. They have more or less the correct aspect ratio and the correct spacing. The only other thing I might do is move them down a little bit because we don't really know what this next section is. And I want to give it a bit of a title and a bit of information. So I'll copy over the heading that we use in our hero banner. And in this section, I'll make a nice large section called How It Works. And this will be the essence of how Thumblytics works. We want to narrow it down to almost a single line or two. So previously we said that we'll test thumbnails with hundreds of real people and crunch the numbers. And this was reiterated in the hero banner. I'm going to narrow this down just to we will show your thumbnails to hundreds of people. And this will then flow into the thumbnail designs A, B, and C. And from there, we can immediately maybe add a representation of different groups testing those thumbnails. So I might pull in a font awesome icon here and I might resize it and make sure that the color is right. Maybe we'll just do an off-white with an opacity just to show that each one of these is being tested with a different group of people. From this, we'll essentially maybe be finished with this section. We might try to have a look at how we can flow it into the next section. And this section is more about how the impressions and click-through happen. So So I might use a similar design to what we had above to show that this section is flowing into the next, and essentially I'll use that arrow design to do that. I'm going to be copying over these arrows I made previously, and we'll just aim them downwards so that they flow into the next section. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the next one, we might take a look at how to finish up this design and make all the rest of the elements a little bit more consistent. But for the time being, this is the design we have, and this is the design that we've created. So here's what we started off with, and as you can see, there's not much clear distinction between one section or another. It's just a lot of information to take in at one stage. And this is what we've ended up with, and here we've got a really clear distinction of where the hero banner is and what this business is, as well as indications of how it works as each section flows into another. We're going to have a look at possibly finishing up this design in another video where we'll take a look at how the mobile representations should work, as well as maybe the login pages. So if you guys did like this video and you want to see more like it, hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.